In May 2024, your favorite sneakers in the U.S. went up by $5. 2,000 containers piled up at California ports due to tariff inspections, and President Biden announced a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. The invisible force behind all this? Tariffs that are not just a tool for economic battles between nations, they directly impact your everyday expenses. Today, we're uncovering how this international trade toll is reshaping the world. Tariffs are taxes imposed by the government on imported and exported goods, typically enforced by customs authorities. Their main purpose is to regulate international trade, protect domestic industries, generate government revenue, and respond to trade disputes. Simply put, tariffs act like an entry fee for goods crossing borders. Whenever a product enters another country, it may be subject to a tax, which can be a fixed amount or a percentage of the product's value. For example, let's say you want to buy a shirt. An American-made shirt sells for $10, while a Chinese-made shirt costs only $2. To prevent the entire U.S. shirt manufacturing industry from collapsing, the government imposes an $8 tariff on any company importing Chinese shirts. That $8 is the tariff. The history of tariffs dates back to ancient times. As early as the beginnings of human civilization, cross-border trade existed, and imposing tariffs became a crucial way for governments to regulate trade and generate revenue. The earliest recorded tariffs can be traced back to 2000 BCE in ancient Egypt, where taxes were levied on imported goods such as spices and gold. During the Middle Ages, countries and regions including China, India, the Middle East, and Europe set up checkpoints along the Silk Road, charging tariffs on merchant caravans passing through. In its earliest days, the primary function of tariffs was to serve as a major source of government revenue, especially for countries that lacked direct taxation, such as income or corporate taxes. By taxing imported goods, governments could secure a stable income to fund public services, infrastructure, and national development. In 19th century America, tariff revenue once accounted for 90% of the federal government's income. In developing countries like Bangladesh, tariffs still contribute more than 20% of total government revenue today. However, in modern economies, the role of tariffs as a revenue source has significantly declined, especially in developed nations, where their primary function has shifted toward economic regulation rather than government funding. Tariffs are also an important tool for protecting domestic industries, mainly by increasing the cost of imported goods, making domestically produced products more competitive. If a country experiences a long-term trade deficit, imports greater than exports, the government may use tariffs to reduce imports and promote domestic production and exports. Politically, for export-driven economies like China, tariffs can be used as a threat to force them into more favorable trade agreements. This is because if tariffs are imposed, China will face a decline in exports. In 2023, the U.S. imposed tariffs on Chinese products such as electric vehicles, batteries, and semiconductors to reduce reliance on Chinese goods. Since taking office in January, President Trump has raised tariffs on Chinese imports for the second time. In retaliation, China imposed tariffs of 15% on U.S. products like chicken, wheat, and corn, and 10% tariffs on soybeans, pork, beef, and fruits. China has long been an important market for U.S. agricultural products, and these retaliatory tariffs caused a sharp decline in the competitiveness of U.S. agricultural products in the Chinese market, leading to unsold agricultural goods and a sharp drop in U.S. farmers' incomes. On the Chinese side, industries like electric vehicles, batteries, and semiconductors are facing challenges, as the demand for Chinese products in the U.S. market could decrease due to the tariffs, leading to a significant drop in Chinese export orders. This has caused disruptions in the global supply chain. This approach could trigger a trade war and have a global economic impact. Therefore, tariffs are a double-edged sword. They protect industries in the short term, but may lead to inflation and retaliation from trading partners in the long term. The impact of tariffs varies across different groups, bringing both benefits and challenges. Higher tariffs on imported goods often lead businesses to pass the costs on to consumers, causing prices to rise. For example, after the U.S. imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, the prices of clothing, household items, iPhones, and Tesla cars were affected. In 2023, U.S. households paid an extra $1,270 per year due to tariffs, and small manufacturers relying on Chinese supply chains saw a surge in costs. If tariffs on imports are too high, domestic markets may have only local brands, reducing consumer choices and limiting competition. Less competition can lead to lower product quality over time. Local businesses benefit from tariff protection, as it reduces foreign competition and allows them to expand their market share. A notable example is Trump's 2018 washing machine tariffs, which generated around $82 million in revenue. However, consumers ended up paying an additional $1.5 billion due to higher prices. While the tariffs saved jobs, the cost per job saved was around $820,000, making it a difficult trade-off. For businesses relying on imported raw materials, higher tariffs increase production costs, which can lead to higher product prices and reduced global competitiveness. Tariff policies often spark international disputes and trigger retaliatory measures. These trade frictions not only affect businesses but also impact global supply chains, making the overall economic situation even more complex. On March 3, 2025, the United States announced a 10% tariff increase on Chinese imports, citing unfair trade and national security concerns. The affected industries include China's new energy vehicles, batteries, and semiconductor sectors, which face direct impact. U.S. importers and consumers, who may experience higher prices. On March 4, 2025, China announced countermeasures, imposing an additional 10% to 15% tariff on certain U.S. goods and implementing export controls on 15 American companies. U.S. agricultural products, such as soybeans and corn, are affected, causing losses for American farmers. After the escalation of the tariff war, both the U.S. and Chinese stock markets experienced declines. To avoid taxes, some companies may consider relocating their production bases. For example, Apple might shift part of its production lines to India or Vietnam. If tariffs lead to higher prices for imported goods, it could exacerbate inflationary pressures, affecting consumer spending. This is particularly bad for individuals, especially those in the middle and lower income brackets. Tariffs, this seemingly distant economic concept, are actually closely connected to the lives of every American and profoundly impact the U.S. and global economies. From purchasing cars and electronics to fluctuations in food prices and changes in employment opportunities, all are influenced by tariff policies. In the future, the global trade environment will remain full of uncertainty, and tariff policies will continue to adjust with changes in international circumstances. Therefore, every American should closely follow tariff news and deeply understand the economic impact of tariff policies so they can make more rational and informed consumption and investment decisions. What unique insights do you have on tariffs? Feel free to share and let's discuss this important economic topic together.